She would not respond to anything I was saying beforehand. And I said, well, if you're not going to at least be real and just truthful and honest with me, then I have nothing to say to you. And on the 5th or 6th day, I remember at night, I had this feeling. I was like, whoa, it's happening. And I just knew. They talk about mother's intuition. Well, I knew tomorrow or in the morning is going to be the one. So even as I'm recording this, my mother sent me a snapshot of something Mandy is sending to my mother. I don't understand. She says, well, Scott can't come to the apartment. Okay, well, he's driving the U-Haul. Jared's coming to the apartment with me. That doesn't matter. I'm just getting the rest of my stuff. We don't have to say anything. I'm going to record the whole thing like I have everything else this year, because she's been every day attacking me, calling me narcissistic, calling me abusive, calling me not fit to parent, calling me all these lies that, first of all, the narcissism thing is something that I have said to her on multiple serious occasions in couples therapy type stuff. So for me to have chosen to move out in November, when I moved in after, August came around and we had problems and things hadn't changed, and I could not get a family meeting going to save my life. And I couldn't get an RC therapy session going between her and I, so we could just talk. We wouldn't talk at all. There was no communication, and there was no structure with an 11-year-old slightly autistic child who is just a whole handful of love and energy, but a lot to be around and to raise. I got to give it to Mandy. She is in chaos most of the time because of that environment. Joey, bless him, has a job now, but other than that, he spends copious amounts of time playing video games, Fortnite, Call of Duty, whatever. And we're talking 15 hours a day on average, and throwing in his controller, swearing. And when I would try and say that's a problem, I wasn't allowed to have a voice. And I kept it together enough, and I was sober, and I was still going to meetings and therapy once a week. And my therapist and I decided couples therapy was something that I could comfortably assert was needed if I was going to continue saving and planning and putting all this energy into moving the 5 of us to Hawaii. So I went to Hawaii to look for our house in November, like we had planned, of 2020, November 2020. Looked around for 2 weeks trying to find one to rent. Nobody would rent to either her or I because of both of our criminal histories. So that was very discouraging, and my family saw that and offered to help us in the form of a loan on top of a mortgage. And I was blown away. I felt like it was such a validation of the way that their son's life was right now. Sober, in a relationship with, just became a father, business owner again. I mean, more responsible, and just kind of a different dude. Was growing into his own, I guess. And so I took it as when my 92-year-old grandfather said, I want to help you get a house now, after he said, first, I can't afford to. Mind you, he's the one who told me it was foolish to waste any time or energy on my dreams of chasing my music career, writing and recording and performing. And so to have my family on my side and to see that I was really doing well again and feel it, and I have my faith and hope. And despite the turmoil and uncomfortableness that was accustomed to her and I and the kids at that time, and slowly starting to spread to my family at the time too, we had flown there just a year prior, not a year, but we had flown there a few months prior to tell my family that we were pregnant. And Mandy and I stayed there for about a week, 5 days or so, and she flew back. And then while I was still there, I stayed there for another couple weeks. And fast forward, so I'd been living, like I said, with Mandy in her apartment after my son was born, August 31st. Now November, and then I'll wrap this up. Now November, I went to Hawaii, couldn't find the house. Grandfather said he'd help. We still couldn't find the right one to buy. We were looking, and I told Mandy the good news that, wow, we're actually might have our own place now. And she, though she thought that was amazing, there was a lot of other pressures, and it was the stress of every day looking at these houses and being disappointed and discouraged for 2 weeks. It was a lot on both of us, but on her especially, because she had our baby and she had her 2 kids, and she was without me. And seeing me in Hawaii must have been real stressful too. And I'm sure that's part of why she resents me. But I couldn't find a house. We couldn't find one. So when I came back, she agreed to the couples therapy that I called and set up, but she wouldn't agree to the family meeting. And so I said, one day, this was in November, once I got back from Hawaii, one day I brought it up again, said, look, we really need to get on the same page. And it just turned into an altercation where she was raising her voice and wouldn't let me talk. And then she started just crying hysterically. She slammed the bedroom door and locked it. And I think I was getting ready to go to work, or I remember I wanted to leave, but all my keys and everything, my wallet was all in the bedroom. And so I knocked and said, look, I just want to leave. Please let me get my things. And she wouldn't. I made sure she heard me because she was crying, and I could hear she was standing. I thought she was in the bathroom, but I could tell she wasn't right there. I said it again. And I don't remember what she said, but it was something that I just kicked the bedroom door, and I kicked it right through and broke the trim board, grabbed my keys and my stuff as quickly as I could, everything that I saw that was mine that I thought I might need, and left hysterically, and went and got a hotel and realized that I had just relapsed on emotion and that it was not okay. And I told her that I did not feel comfortable moving back in because what if music was behind? What if she was holding my son behind the door? And that's something that I flip to often from time to time while in therapy and while being tailgated on the highway. I mean, to keep a level head and just be able to logically think, which is something that I'm so in the emotion of the moment, it's really hard to do. But I've been around enough to see that would have been a really bad road to stay there and keep trying to make it work would not be good. So I left. Now Thanksgiving came around and I wanted to go back, and we agreed. I said, okay, I'll come back, but we have to have a family meeting 5 days at least. I know we have Thanksgiving's going to be in 2 days or 3 days, and then we'll have the weekend right after that. Let's at least by Sunday then. Well, the didn't happening, and finally it was Sunday, and I remember I took music like I normally did in the morning. My routine was to take music out in the living room so I could let Mandy sleep before I went to work. Now, I like to kind of sleep in anyway, so 8, 9, I wake up, take music. Mandy'd sleep. When I'd stay there, she'd sleep till maybe noon or 1 because she was up late. So that's fine. And this day, I went and made her coffee like normal, went in there and said, hey, maybe in a couple hours, we can all take a walk. It's sunny. We can just walk and talk, and we'll bring music in the stroller, and what do you say? And she's, well, it's too early. I just woke up, and I don't want to, no notice or whatever it was. And I said, well, you asked me to approach you differently rather than making a big deal out of it and making plans. I thought I would do it differently and just kind of take advantage, spur the moment of the nice weather, and we're all home, and let's do it. And when I went back out in the living room and just waited, and by the time it was 4 o'clock, I went in there and just said, I can't do this anymore, Mandy. And I got my stuff, packed it all, and I left. And that is how it went down for Thanksgiving. And when I left, I knew that that was the right decision, because what I had done to the door hadn't been fixed yet. And I don't mean the door itself, and I also don't mean my anger problem, my emotional problem. It's really my codependency and my addiction. And I've been diagnosed with bipolar, not the crazy one though, just the highs and lows one. But I take sertraline for that and have been, and it works well. I'm also diagnosed once with intermittent explosive disorder, which I guess is when it's like an emotional blackout and you intermittently react disproportionately to stimuli or something like that. I haven't spent a lot of time looking into it, because aside from the event with the door, there really hasn't been a whole lot of thinking that leads to that kind of behavior. And so, I mean, obviously there hasn't been a whole lot of that behavior at all. If there was, I'd be doing something completely wrong, and I would understand why music wouldn't be allowed to be here. But the fact of the matter is, that's not who I am. It's not who I've been for a long time. It's definitely not who I've been since music's been on this earth. And kicking that door in was my wake-up call. And aside from that, in November, nothing else cataclysmic, nothing else noteworthy of abuse other than the psychological that I feel she was inflicting on me. I did my very best to take no harm, or do no harm and take no shit. Take no harm and give no shit, you could say as well. And successfully, I might add. I found ways to do that. Whatever I could do to be okay, so I could pause. I would find ways to do that. That included not following Mandy on Facebook since, for a couple of years. I think it was right around the first year is when I stopped following her on Facebook. Well, I gotta go move music stuff, and I'm gonna be going to pick up my things from her apartment tomorrow. Well, it was Wednesday. We said Wednesday first. Let's do that. Well, she says tomorrow she does not want Scott Moan to come there. He's not welcome. And that's fine. I mean, Scott's been clean now for a while, but she's resented him since when I relapsed, he was not clean. Scott Moan is about 70 years old. This guy taught me how to paint. And I probably shouldn't even be talking about him because he hasn't told me that's okay. But this video is really just so you can get a sense of who I am. And I figured by talking unscripted for an hour would help me and you to get acquainted with what's going on. Well, at least she's now responded. When I see at 2:30, I asked her, I have a U-Haul reservation Thursday, now 5 o'clock. Confirm a time and we'll leave your stuff outside. That's fine. Just told her I'll let her know when I know. I was looking forward to seeing my son for a minute. I just don't understand. I feel like she's being vengeful and she's probably been burned by more than she has been burned by a lot of guys. And her story, I can hold no ill will toward the mother of my son. And so I only intend to speak about myself in light of being attacked maliciously and deceitfully with both true events of my past and also not true events that never happened. So, I mean, I want to defend myself against the lies. And the only way I'm comfortable doing that is by talking about myself, the good and the bad, and being real. That's all I have. And so I'll ask her. It's Wednesday. We said Wednesday first. Let's do that. Why are you keeping my son from me, Mandy? You literally said you don't deserve what I did to the other guys. I don't understand. And I've refrained from really even posting about her at all. In fact, I don't think anyone could find anywhere I've badmouthed her ever. And up until at least a month ago, I said I was proud that she was the mother of my son because I felt like I at least still knew what her values were. I might not have known who she was or what she really wanted as well as I thought as well as I would have liked. But I was comfortable for a couple months. We only went to 4 sessions, I think, so it was about a month. But she had dropped that and then said, I'm leaving to California tomorrow morning after the tires get put on my car, and I'll be gone for a couple weeks. I have postpartum depression and I need to get perspective or something to that extent. And so freaked at first inside because I was going to be without my son, and that was like being without. It is like being without the sun. But I knew she was coming back, and I've been working, and so okay, drive safe. And I gave them all a hug. Annabelle, Joey, Mandy, music, hung out with me that night. I spent the night here with them, and then she came and picked them up in the morning after I put the new tires on their car, and I gave them all a hug, and I think I gave them some notebooks or little gifts or something, and that was it. And I got pictures. There was brief friendly exchanges, I would say, between her and I. In fact, there was even some more like romantic exchanges in January last month. And now nothing has happened. There's been no cataclysm. There's been no abuse. There's been no event. There's been no series of events, except for maybe just the totality of the despair and discouragement felt from being let down about the whole Hawaii thing, and then the whole pandemic, of course. And I'm sure having a baby and carrying another life for that long, there's a whole lot to it. All I want, and I will end it with this. I'm still here in Freeland, Mandy. It's February 23rd, 2021. I write to my son every day that I don't see him. And to know that he's just a mile away, and to know that I'm going to be right there out front of the door picking up my stuff tomorrow, and I won't be able to see my son. I don't understand, and I don't agree with this. Short of an explanation, short of an honest explanation, which I truthfully don't believe you're capable of giving me. This has not been a video to badmouth Mandy. And I believe that will be clear, for I never intend to badmouth Mandy. And so I'm always pretty comfortable that that's not what I'm doing. Commenting on bad things someone does, how they affect you, is different. And I would let the whole thing go if music would be better off without this stress and this craziness. Whose ever fault? From the outside looking in, I don't know. I don't follow what she posts. I can only assume she's willing to lie about me, so it's not going to be good stuff at all. But I also know everything that I've posted, and I'm comfortable with that. I'm hoping the resentment will fade here with time. I don't plan on being the dad that just sends the child support. Of course, I'm going to support my son, and part of that is the child support, but I want to be dad. I love music. I love you, music. I love you, man. And I always will. And don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. And I will see you very soon, buddy. We'll have a relationship. It'll just be through Mandy for a little while. And Mandy, if by some chance you are watching this, as I said, as the mother of my son, I love you. And I know that you are capable of being the mother to him that you were to Annabelle and Joey. And it is for that reason that I feel my presence would be a benefit to music, for him to have his father in addition to the home environment that you provide. I'm going to sign off. Cameron Forrest Adams.